what trends would have changed, what would have grown? Let's love to hear your views, sir, on what. How do you see it 5-10 years later?
Some time ago, there was a doubt on whether we will succeed. Now that doubts have actually gone. So now people are asking, where will you go?
How are you working with other regulators from around the world to just harmonize capital flows, make sure that compliance is also harmonized, and from an investor protection standpoint, you spoke about sometimes dubious players, particularly for residents who are accessing the IFSC markets.
So two things here. First of all, we are a member of the International Organization of Securities Commissions, IOSCO, and we have also signed. We are also signatories to the MMOU with them, which means that any information that we seek from any international regulator and what they seek from us, there is an exchange of information. We have been doing that regularly with so many international regulators. So whenever, for example, they want to onboard a fund, if they have something, they ask us and we respond. So this MMOU actually has helped us to clear applications fast, for them also to clear applications fast, because ultimately we are all part of the same ecosystem. Best practices have to be learnt. Investor protection is actually high on the agenda of many international organizations, particularly an organization like IOSCO, which gives out principles on all these things. When it comes to domestic regulators, IFSC is really thankful to all the domestic regulators, whether it is SEBI or RBI or even IRDA. We have actually taken a lot of best practices, and we should also thank our ministry, the Ministry of Finance, because they have been able to coordinate all the ministry, because we are also a member of the FSDC, the Financial Stability Development and Development Council, which in case there are issues, we always take up there and we try to iron out. But in fact, to be very fair, very few cases actually go there, because we've been able to iron out things with the regulators itself. So when it comes to creating new innovative products, bringing more customers, a lot of things requires us to actually speak to the domestic regulators, because there is money flow out of the country. Sometimes there are people who are investing technically in an international jurisdiction, or probably there is an outbound money which goes out. So to these things, we have been able to sort of solve the matters regularly with our domestic regulators, and they have been quite helpful.
Clearly, as you said, GIFT has seen a lot of interest from AIFs and private fund managers. What are your plans to attract even more fund managers to come into the system, right? Because we want this to be the absolutely best place for these opportunities.
No, very, very, very well. And I hope probably a year or two from now, I'll be sitting with you and probably speaking of record numbers.
Right.
We already have got good numbers, because when you compare to other ecosystem which have been in existence for decades, we have actually done quite well. And mainly because of one important reason. The fact is that we have had the Indian diaspora around the world. At one point in time, we are looking at our population as something which is negative, but today it's actually paying us demographic dividend. 1 in every 6 persons in the world is an Indian, and they have been able to sort of we have been able to sort of leverage that. But when it comes to the fund management ecosystem, as when we began this this talk, we were discussing about the fact as to how dynamic the international economy is, and the same impact is there on the fund management ecosystem. So as far as the fund management ecosystem is concerned, we are constantly looking out for innovation, making lives easy for people. So what we have tried to do, two recent innovations which I talked to you about earlier. One was a platform play innovation which came about. One was co-investment scheme. The other one which we tried to sort of bring through the SPV model. And there are other discussions which a lot of people have tried to sort of take it out with us. But when you look at the fund management regulations 2025 itself, it has been a marked improvement over what it was the fund management regulations 2022, where if you look at it, one of the biggest the evidence of the fact that it is a success is that India's domestic regulator, SEBI, which is one of the most respected regulators around the world, has actually taken some of the innovations that we have brought and tried to take it back to the Indian jurisdiction, which is an evidence of the fact that we have been doing something sort of right. So, but what we have to always keep in mind that irrespective of what we try to do, the 2 or 3 important aspects as far as the color of money, when it comes to AML, those things will always be there when we try to onboard investors. But one thing I can tell you is that our zeal for improvement, our zeal for innovation will never reduce, because any regulator who has to sort of proceed ahead, has to sort of make an jurisdiction vibrant, has to ensure that it cuts on procedural delays, reduces redundancies, and keeps its eyes open for innovation. Right. So these three things we are trying to keep in mind while we try to develop the ecosystems, including the fund management ecosystem.
I must say that as a member of the banking community for the last 25 plus years and around many jurisdictions, your words are a breath of fresh air, right? I think bankers around the world would love to have regulators who are looking to the future and looking to make things easy. And you spoke about the diaspora. While many of them left the country, but their heart, a large part of the heart is always in India, which is why $130 billion of money always flows back to India every year. And about 30 billion of Indians who are in India, but their heart is fully global. They're able to think global. They send money overseas to either support their families, send kids overseas, or invest globally. And I think we're very well positioned at GIFT and at IFSC to offer both. Now, we thought about the past. We talked about 170 years. We thought about the GIFT. Let's think about the future, right? From next 5-10 years. If you want to imagine what trends would have changed, what would have grown, let's love to hear your views, sir, on how do you see it 5-10 years later?
Yeah, so we will continue to do what we have been doing all along, which is, see, I'll tell you what, some time ago there was a doubt on whether we will succeed. Now that doubts have actually gone. So now people are asking, where will you go, right? But what we want to do is that we, as I told you, we have these objectives of onshoring the offshore, which we are actually being quite successful. We want to make this as a very vibrant ecosystem for not just for India. Right? We also want international players, particularly the global South, Africa, also to make use of this ecosystem. To actually, we want to look at want them to look at this ecosystem as an international ecosystem,
Yes.
right? And I'm sure we are actually making the right noises, because very recently a Sri Lankan bank has actually made its listing on the on the NSE-IX, and we recently had some other listing also, which was happening on the international exchange. So we, because one of the things which we told the world during our G20 presidency was the fact of channelizing this whole concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, right? The world is our family, and the whole thing about this whole G20 was not just take for also give it to the world, right? So, and if you want to give it to the world, why not make use of this ecosystem? This G20, what the G20 tried to do when India's presidency was on, was try to tell the world that we can actually share wealth, we can actually do things mutually. COVID, for example, when COVID came, India became a country which actually supplied medicines around the world, vaccines around the world. So why can't we do that? So we showed that we are capable. But what we want to do from this ecosystem is that we want to make this quite an attractive jurisdiction for Indians come back to India. Because, for example, you take something like sustainable finance, right? India needs $10 to $15 trillion to achieve its net zero needs, right? This IFSC ecosystem is probably one ecosystem through which you can actually channelize funds. We actually shown that we can succeed, on that front. So we can actually do that, and we can also, for example, you can even create a fund. The government can create a fund, for example, a sovereign fund, which actually borrows money internationally or even from Indians, and probably, helps this smaller countries or probably poorer countries. Because one of the things which was agreed in the recent COP was to help the smaller countries, right? And India has always showed that it can do that. So I see a plethora of possibilities as far as this IFSC is concerned, and not just limiting to what we can do for India, but also what we can give to the world.
Yeah, fully echo that, sir. So we spoke about the diaspora, we spoke about resident Indians, but I think I dream of a world where people from around the world, the person could be in country A investing in country B, but the place of doing that business is IFSC and its gift city. So look forward to seeing that day in the near future. Thank you, Pradeep, for joining us today. Thank you for your insights. For everybody who joined in today, we're confident that as GIFT City rises, so do the opportunities for all participants, for Indians here in India and around the world. I am confident that this is an early stage of the journey, and soon and over the years, we will see GIFT City rise to new heights. So let's stay tuned in. Let's also stay tuned in for other podcasts which will bring to you equally insightful and on this topic and other topics. So thank you once again, Pradeep, for joining us today.
Thank you.